Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Module 1 of Introduction to Educational Research and its Role in Education under the subject Prof. Ed 11 Methods of Research 1. Again, good morning. I'd like to begin with a simple question. Have you ever wondered why some teachers seem to consistently help students succeed, while others struggle even when they teach the same subject? So imagine you're a teacher. So some teachers actually find it easy to help students succeed, while others are somehow struggling and even they are teaching the same subject. So I want you to think about this question. Is it because naturally they are gifted teachers, or is it because they've been teaching longer? Or maybe there's something else. So the answer is more often than not, it is research. The best educators don't simply guess what works. They investigate, they observe, they collect evidence, and they improve based on what they discover. So for today, we're going to explore how research transforms ordinary teaching into extraordinary teaching. Because whether you realize it or not, every great teacher is also a researcher. By the end of today's session, I don't simply want you to memorize definitions. Instead, I want you to leave this room seeing problems differently. When you encounter a challenge in your future classroom, as you are future educators, I hope your first instinct won't be to say, that's just the way it is. Instead, I hope you'll ask, why is this happening? How can I investigate? How can I improve this situation? What does the evidence say? Today, we'll learn what educational research is, why it matters, and what makes research trustworthy. How to recognize worthwhile studies, and finally, how researchers move from identifying a problem to producing meaningful solutions. So imagine you're a teacher, as you will be in the future. One day, you notice that students seem less engaged than usual. So you're teaching a class, and then suddenly you've noticed that your students are less engaged or less participative than usual. You could simply assume that they're lazy, kulang sa tulog, etc. Or you could become curious. You'll begin to ask questions. What changed? Is the lesson difficult? Is the teaching strategy effective or ineffective? Could the technology used improve the engagement? That's where educational research begins. Not with answers, but with questions. Educational research is a systematic, objective, and scientific way of finding answers to educational problems. Instead of relying on assumptions, researchers collect evidence in a systematic procedure. Because in education, opinions can inspire ideas, but evidence changes practice. Let me give you a simple example. So, suppose you're a teacher or a teacher notices that students perform better during group activities. Many people would immediately conclude group work is the best teaching strategy. So, some of you may also say that. But is it really? Maybe the students already knew the lesson. Maybe they have a prior knowledge about the lesson. Maybe the activity was easier. Or maybe they simply enjoyed working with friends. Research teaches us one important lesson. Correlation or relationship is not always causation or effect. Instead of jumping to conclusions, researchers test ideas, gather data, and allow evidence to speak. Now imagine you're teaching grade 6. So you're a grade 6 classroom teacher. Your pupils struggle with reading comprehension, as this is actually a national issue. So you have two options. Option 1, continue teaching with the same way and hope things improve. Or option 2, become a researcher. With this option 2, you divide your class into two groups. One group learns using traditional textbooks, while the other uses story mapping. After several weeks, you compare the results. Now, your decision isn't based on intuition. It's based on evidence. That's what educational research does. It turns classroom problems into opportunities for improvement. Now, let's focus on a more technical scenario. So, why educational research is important? Education research is important because it helps improve education at every level. Let us first have this first importance. So, guiding policy and decision making. Educational policy should never rely solely on opinions. Even our lawmakers must not rely on opinions. Government agencies such as the Department of Education use research findings to create programs that address real educational needs. For example, literacy studies revealed that many Filipino learners struggle with reading. However, I want to leave you with this question. Are Are lawmakers or policy builders making decisions and policies out of research or just out of opinions? So, just like I mentioned a while ago, literacy studies revealed that many Filipino learners struggle with reading. So, as a result, programs such as Every Child a Reader program were implemented to improve reading achievement. Also, oral program, uh if you know, this program is actually an output of research. Research, therefore, serves as a foundation for educational reforms and policies. So, moving to the next importance, improving teaching and learning. Teachers benefit greatly from research. Studies consistently show that strategies such as formative assessment, active learning, cooperative learning, technology-based learning, differentiated instruction, and immediate feedback improve students' achievement. Moreover, instead of relying on traditional or habit, teachers can adopt instructional approaches that have already been approved, proven, effective through research. So I guess some of your teachers are actually integrating technology and even AI in their classroom setups. And those are products of research. Looking on a wider scope, educational research also addresses larger educational concerns. Namely, the third importance is that solving educational problems. Schools face many challenges: declining academic performance, students' absenteeism, dropout rates, digital inequality, learning loss, and mental health concerns, just like what DepEd is currently experiencing. Research helps identify the causes of these issues and provides practical solutions. Moreover, during the COVID-19 pandemic, research guided schools in implementing modular, online, and blended learning approaches. Without research, educators would have relied only on trial and error, and we cannot continue learning during the pandemic era. The fourth importance is contributing to knowledge. Educational research continuously expands our understanding of teaching and learning. It helps us to improve our ways of looking on the educational system. Each study contributes to the body of educational knowledge. Future researchers can build upon previous findings, allowing education to evolve continuously. This cumulative process is what advances the profession. If you're familiar with citation, this is a way to contribute to knowledge. So once your paper is being cited, you are actually contributing your knowledge to future researchers and next knowledge to come. Not all research is a good quality or is of good quality. High quality research possesses several important characteristics. So namely, first, systematic. So every research must follow steps, procedures, or systematic procedures. Every step is carefully planned and follows an organized procedure. Once your steps are somehow vague or not clear, your research may be invalid. Next, logical and objective. Research conclusions are based on evidence rather than personal opinions. So your conclusions or results must base on gathered data and existing data. So you cannot say your opinions in doing your research. Next, empirical. Research relies on observable and measurable data collected through interviews, surveys, tests, observations, or experiments. Next, replicable. Another researcher should be able to repeat the same study under similar conditions and obtain similar results. Replication strengthens the credibility of your research finding. If you're familiar with your chapter 4 results and discussion, this is the reason why we are actually including cited references in amplifying or improving your research results or in highlighting your research results. Next, or last one, ethical. Researchers must respect participants' rights. This includes informed consent or assent, confidentiality, voluntary participation, honesty in reporting, and avoid plagiarism or publication of data. We will discuss further about these ethical concerns in the next modules to come. These characteristics distinguish credible scientific research from those unsupported claims. Before conducting research, researchers should determine whether their study is worth pursuing. Of course, we don't want students or researchers to pursue a study that is not a worthwhile study. The first criterion, or in order for us to say that our study is a worthwhile research, we have a particular criterion. So the first criterion is relevance. A research topic should solve an actual educational problem, or a research topic must focus on a specific problem. So we don't want researches which are not relevant to our field, which is, for example, education. So, for example, you are investigating student social media habits. This research is relevant because technology significantly influences learning today. The second criterion is feasibility. Even if a topic is interesting, it may not be practical. For instance, you have a very good topic. However, you must consider if it is feasible and practical. Researchers should consider available time. If considering that you're actually college students doing your thesis, you must have or your study must be compressed in a 1 year period. So if you think your study can be done in 1 year, so I think you must think of another topic or research title. Financial resources. So you must restrict your study on your financial capability. For instance, you have a very good topic. However, that topic calls for, let's say, 200,000. Are you willing to use such money in doing your research? Next, research instruments. Are there available research instruments? What instruments must be done or crafted for your study? Participants. Are your participants accessible? If not, you may think of another research topic and your research skills. A manageable study is more likely to be a completed study or to be completed successfully. The third criterion is contribution. Research should add value to existing knowledge. A study may introduce new findings, confirm previous studies, improve existing practices, or identify new solutions. If your study cannot contribute to any of these, thus, your study is not a worthwhile to study. Next, the last criterion is ethical soundness. Researchers must always prioritize participants' welfare. Ethical research includes protecting privacy, ensuring confidentiality, minimizing risk, obtaining informed consent and assent, and reporting results honestly. Without ethical conduct, research loses credibility regardless of how well it is designed. So educational research follows a logical sequence known as the research process cycle. So on the next slides, we will discuss this research process cycle and what are your steps in doing your thesis. Step one is identify the problem. So every research study begins with a problem that needs investigation or a worthwhile study. A good research problem should be specific, relevant, attainable, and researchable. For example, grade 3 pupils show or have low reading comprehension scores. So this is actually a good source of a research problem. The next step is to review related literature. Researchers examine books, journal articles, and previous studies. This helps the researchers understand existing knowledge, identify research gaps, and avoid duplication, and to strengthen their theoretical foundation. So in doing your related literature, we are actually identifying if your study is unique or it is already conducted, and if there are gaps to be considered in writing your research. The third step is to formulate your research questions or hypotheses. The research questions guide the entire study. This serves as your backbone. This serves as the backbone of your research. They clearly specify what the researcher wants to investigate. Later on, these research problems or questions will highlight or will be highlighted using your research design or methodology. For example, does daily silent reading improve reading comprehension among grade 3 pupils? So we have this general problem. Then later on in our next discussions, I will be teaching you how to make your specific problems. The next step is the step 4, which is to design the study. Researchers determine the research design, participants, sampling method, instruments, and data collection procedures. The design must match the research problem. Because for you to answer the research problem, your research methodology or procedure must be complementing your research problem. After establishing a good research design or method, you must now collect data, which is the step 5. Researchers gather accurate and reliable information, so using questionnaires, interviews, observations, surveys, tests, focus group discussions, or document analysis. As we all go along this course, and once you have your approved research topics and titles, we can then identify what uh, research instrument is suitable for your research or thesis. The next step is Step 6, analyze and interpret data. So collected data are organized and analyzed. Quantitative studies often use statistical techniques. Qualitative studies use coding, categorization, and thematic analysis. The goal is to answer the research questions using evidence anchored on statistical analysis or in data analysis. So don't worry, even though you think you're not good in mathematics, I will be helping you in establishing your data analysis and in interpreting your data. Step 7 is draw conclusions and recommendations. Researchers summarize what the findings mean. Conclusions should directly answer the research questions and must be aligned to your summary of findings. Recommendations, on the other hand, must provide practical suggestions for teachers, administrators, policymakers, or even future researchers. The next step is to disseminate findings. Research should not remain on a shelf. Findings should be shared through research reports, conferences, seminars, journal publications, and presentations. Sharing research enables others to learn from the findings and apply them to practice. Always remember this. Research is called a cycle because one study often leads to new questions and future investigations. Research is therefore an ongoing effort to improve teaching and learning. So what we have learned today. Educational research isn't about writing long papers. Bear that in mind. It isn't about statistics alone. At its heart, research is about improving lives. Every better lesson, every better classroom, every better school, it starts with someone willing to ask. Can we do this better? Research gives us the courage to ask difficult questions and the evidence to answer them. I'd like to leave you with one final thought. One day, each of you will stand in front of your own classrooms. You'll face students with different needs, different dreams, and different challenges. Some strategies will work, some won't. When that day comes, don't rely only on tradition. Don't rely on opinions. Be curious, be reflective, be willing to investigate. Because great teachers don't simply teach. Great teachers research, discover, improve, and inspire. Thank you and welcome to your journey into educational research.